All right, it's time for What's Up and About, and I'm right here with some beautiful ladies. One in brown, the leather is leathery.
It is.
And the other, she's wearing very subtle blue. Is this a baby blue?
It's powder blue.
Powder blue. Oh, yes. I love it. I'm learning colors. I love it, love it, love it.
You're wearing pistachio green.
Which one is that one?
Really?
That's the orange on your eyeshadow is popping.
Are you joking right now?
Shout out to OG.
Oh, dear me. So What's Up and About is where we ladies on a Wonder Woman Wednesday try to, tackle some matters. And there's just so much to talk about from not just over the weekend, but then even just as recent as yesterday. Where do we start from?
The obvious one.
Yeah, standing up for yourself, standing up to power, in some cases, is the only way to, get some issues addressed. And we did note that there was, I won't call it an altercation, there was a back and forth between...
It's a face-off.
It's an altercation.
Okay, you want to say altercation?
It was an altercation,
So
yes.
You call it a face-off. I'm going to call it a back and forth between an officer, a military officer, and Nyesom Wike. I believe the officer's name is Yerima. And the key term there that everybody has been reposting, retweeting is, yeah, a fool. I'm not a fool, sir. Wow, okay.
That's why you say it was a back and forth.
That's a back and forth. So he wasn't exactly being rude to him. I'm saying the officer. He wasn't. He was just clarifying that I'm not a fool, sir. I don't know. Is that how I would do it? If someone was, would I actually respond or would I just keep quiet? I actually wonder.
So now this is the conversation we're having.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of segues in from the conversation we're having yesterday, talking about the situation of Nawat and the beauty queens that actually stepped out, literally standing up for yourself.
Exactly.
So I don't even think it's a situation of standing, whether it's power or not power. It's just standing up for yourself. Yeah, of course, in this situation particularly, it's power. But then again, there are different types of power. This is a person in uniform representing the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is in itself its power. And of course, as he said, he was acting on instructions. Do you understand? So of course, this is the minister of the FCT as well, someone that's also in a very high position right there as well. So it was a clash of, authority, instruction, and it's been all over social media. That's why we definitely had to talk about it.
Yeah. So the issue of having soldiers right there on the land already, it seems like it was anticipated that.
So I think
to be honest,
Nuruma should actually go.
Yeah. So to be honest, I feel like over the past few years that Wike has been in office, he's been revoking a lot of lands, right? And I'm sure a lot of people are not very happy about that, because imagine if you've paid for your land and someone just wakes up one morning and says maybe you don't have certain documents. If you remember, there were some ministries that even their lands had issues, and then the president had to step in, whereby it's like, okay, you know what, we're going to give you X amount of days for you to do all the necessary requirements. Now, with those army officials being there, I feel like if they're standing on instruction, it's basically standing on business. You don't report to Nyesom Wike. Fine, is the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, but that is not your boss. Your boss, you know how they say, obey the last command. I think that's how they say it. You have to obey what your superior has said. So even if anyone comes, they need to go speak to your boss before he can give you that instruction, and then you change whatever circumstance or whatever situation there is. Now, you cannot tell me that it is even a nice thing for the minister of the FCT to start speaking to that man like that in public. A lot of people were there. Cameras was there. It was so embarrassing. I'm sorry, Nyesom Wike, I'm sure you have your own right. You're a man of your own timber and caliber, right? But still, I feel like such things could have been. It could have been addressed differently.
It could have been addressed differently.
Yeah, so that's basically what I was talking about. So standing up for yourself, right? Making sure that no matter what, you're being treated with a human being, as a human being with integrity. Now, that's what the young man actually said. He said, I am not a fool. I'm a human. I have integrity. I'm a man of integrity. He actually said that. Wow. So now just giving it a little backstory. So it was literally gathered. It has been gathered, right, since the altercation that the situation was that the owner of the land, who was actually a former naval officer, former naval chief of staff, literally was about to commence building work on his land. And then what happens is that the people from the FCTA literally come and talk about how, okay, fine, show us the papers, show us the documentation, and they did present that and all of that, and they left. And 2 days later, they come and say, okay, fine, you know what, this land ownership has been revoked.
Wow,
just like that.
But the documents
they were there. That's what I mean. Allegedly, it was all reported. The documents were there. Everything were complete, but they came into it and they're like, this land has been revoked and all of that. So that is why, of course, as you said, the officers were already on. So it's like they all anticipated all that visit. Now, I'm going to say this and all of this to just also give context. It seems that there is some form of agitation with this situation of land revocation and all of that in the FCT due to the person of the minister. I will also mention the situation of the Abuja IBB golf course as well, which still is not open. So my dad is actually a member of that golf course. Do you understand? And then the issue is that, okay, fine, the same thing, military headship, they've been doing their things for years, and then all of a sudden, the office of the minister literally comes in and is like, okay, fine, this is not a military property, this is military property, do you understand? And then all of a sudden, right now, the golf is not necessarily in. So I'm like, my point is, so far, there's a lot of agitation, military land, non-military property, and then all of that.
To the best of my knowledge, when you want to exercise your authority, you send your people to do it. I was a little taken aback that Wike had to go there himself.
And have that altercation.
Himself? Like, if you are the boss, you are the FCT minister, you send people to do your bidding, right? Or am I?
Because
so why was he specifically on
I think you already had. Exactly. So it's like, okay, let me go there and let me see who will not allow me. So I think that
do you remember one time, I think there was a hotel during the lockdown period, I think Wike had to bulldoze down a hotel in Port Harcourt. Then he was the governor. And for me, right, when you take such decisions, it's quite hasty. Because I think it's important that before you make a decision, you think about it and be sure that it is the best. Now, with revoking this land, I'm sorry, you cannot just say, oh, you have the permits and all of a sudden we're revoking the land. Even if maybe the place had been built, the Wike that we've seen will probably bulldoze it down because you know, it feels like this is what I need to do. He's the boss right now, but that shouldn't be it.
I'm not exactly trying to play the devil's advocate, but what sort of reasons would be put forward for revocation of a land, even if documentation is complete? I'm trying to think, like, if it was in Lagos now, it could have been, maybe there was supposed to be a pipeline there or a canal there, or there's a high tension wire there or something. There needs to be something.
So now I'm going to say this. So there are several things, right? There are several reasons. So of course, if your land is allocated, if you actually exceed the plots giving, you're probably on a land that's probably is meant for some other function, as a highway or other. Do you understand? Because of course, most lands have like a plan, and a building plan.
If it doesn't go with the plan.
Yes, if it doesn't go with the plan, of course, you are at risk of demolition and all that. However, it's been alleged. And I mean, there's been stories and people have different sentiments about this particular situation under this particular minister. Because remember, I know there was also a publication and where Wike himself was even addressing the press, talking about how someone asked him a question that, okay, that he's giving friends, lands to his friends. And then he literally said, is he my enemies I want to give land to before? Do you understand? So there's still all of that back and forth. I mean, that was all on
So
on
I'm just saying there has to be a concrete reason. You know, I do feel like the government does also, somewhere in the fine print, reserve the right to revoke certain things if they notice something. Maybe there was something under the ground, something to do with the toxicity of. There's always some kind of.
But I feel like
my point is that in that situation, there's a process.
There's a process, and then let the people know why. You can't do things shady. Yes, you can't put it under the ground, do underground movements, and then it feels like oppression. It feels like because you know that you're the boss, you can do whatever
and do it in any way you want. So the approach for me was what I wasn't a big fan of, especially having to talk to the officer in that particular manner. He's already lost on that account. But the truth is, he is in government, and if he does find something in the fine print to collect that land, is there anything the military officer, owner or not,
then speak to the right person. That man, the military officer, was just standing on business. He was doing what was asked of him. Simple. Now, if, for instance, you need to revoke that land, go through the right process, the right channel, speak to the right person, and I'm sure they would, leave it.
And of course, anything in a situation like this is a case of land disputes, and of course, you go through the courts. You don't just sit them there and literally just shut it down just by word of mouth or by a sickness. But then again, on the other hand, please, I want to shout at, this is a situation, we're talking about security now in Nigeria, right? Of course, that is a military man there standing in his full uniform and all of that, and addressing the minister. I'm sure the minister didn't see that coming, to be very honest, because we all know that a lot of times when we see security personnel, and of course we see persons of the government, is always a yes sir type of situation. So my point is, to an extent, it's nice to see that. This is a young man that knows that his loyalty first is to Nigeria,
to his country,
to the country, to his duties in that uniform, than to,
I love how he stood
and the
up
chain
for
of
himself.
command.
I love how he stood up for himself, said I'm a man of integrity, and that is what it should be. Now, a lot of people, when things happen like that, before you know, they'll just be quiet, cower away. Oh, yes, sir. Okay, sir. And before you know, you can get bullied. Now, you do not want to be bullied. So if you know that you're standing for your right, my dear, stand on that business.
But how many people would be able to do that? I do feel like the uniform was giving the
some sort of power.
Yes, not everyone can do that. So we need to actually
understand your duty and responsibility and the rights accorded to you. You have no business wearing that uniform. I will say that. So because I went to an Air Force
trainings
school. Do you understand? Like, even as a student, I used to wear blue and blue. Students, there's certain types of respect and dignity that are accorded to you. As a human being, you have your dignities. If you now decide to sideline that one, then as a person of a personnel of the military, there are certain dignities that are accorded to you. And it's just sad because of the economy and how sometimes it just seems like, his highest bidder that literally calls the shots in most of the situations. But I'm glad that was not the case in this situation. But
well, we'll definitely be looking out for that particular story and following up with it. Because it is all over the news, all over social media, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. But there was something else. Do we have time for it?
No, we don't. We have to go to break now. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. Let us know what you think on this particular story, and make sure you do send us your comments on social media. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, still so much more happening right here on Wake Up Nigeria.